Hi, I'm Nancy Shanto, and I'm going to read to you today from Access to Power, a Radical Approach for Changing Your Life. This is from Chapter 3, the chapter titled Oppression, Alienation, and Empowerment, Loss, and Recovery of Power by Julia Kelleher. So I'm going to read you a couple of paragraphs and then talk a little bit about it. We're moving into a conversation about how we are oppressed, how oppression happens in the world, and how we internalize it. Many times during my days and weeks, I hear myself or others around me complain that although they think they should be grateful for what they have, they feel funky, depressed, or lost. Some of these complaints are grounded in real material difficulties: lost jobs, house foreclosures, debt burden, money troubles, and fear of an uncertain future. Many of the younger folks in my life are having difficulty finding meaningful mates, work, or community. Relationships feel unstable and insecure. Jobs are hard to find. College is expensive and doesn't promise the same economic advantages as in the past. Affordable housing is limited. Our choices to commit to mortgages, children, or long-term marriage are very frightening. Life on this earth as we know it seems unsustainable. As if these material concerns are not hard enough, I also hear a tone of hopelessness and powerlessness that infiltrates most conversations. This mysterious malaise is at once palpable yet challenging to address. Compared to the majority of people in the world, those of us who are middle-class U.S. citizens experience enormous access to material and physical comforts of all kinds and have a relatively large degree of power over our lives. And yet among the same population, we experience chronic anxiety, disease, depression, unhappiness, and high rates of suicide, domestic violence, drug abuse, and other forms of emotional and social distress. In fact, statistically, we suffer from those kinds of problems more than many of the so-called less civilized cultures in the world. As Skills for Change practitioners, we continually confront the fact that amid relative abundance of resources, we, and many of the folks in our community of clients and students, have a sense of dis-ease and dissatisfaction in our lives. We see a complex web of cultural and political influences that teach us to disconnect from a sense of belonging, from our bodies, from aliveness, and from a philosophical, spiritual center. So here we are getting started talking about oppression and alienation and how we can become empowered, we can recover our power by acknowledging the losses that we're experiencing. So once again, as we name all of these circumstances, we name our real circumstances, not the ones we wish we had, not the fantasy circumstances, and not the over-exaggerated, terrible circumstances, but the real, genuine, both abundance and difficulty that we face. We're more able to face into our circumstances, our existing Richard Strozzi Heckler called it the predicament, and we're able to choose more directly what we're going to do, how we're going to design our life, how we want to respond to the oppressive forces around us. Because we have some power. We don't have zero. And so even when we feel like we're at the bottom of the totem pole in our context, we're still in a context where many people would trade to get to this position. And that's this mid-ladder position, not at the top, not at the bottom, is often difficult because what we do is we compare ourselves to the people around us. And oftentimes those comparisons, what we see in the people around us is what they're showing us, which is often their good news. And we don't see their bad news because they keep that secret. And so as a result, we're comparing ourselves to everybody's best face. Some people are vulnerable. Some people will share their reality with us. But oftentimes it just takes too long to let everybody know all of the details of everything that's going on in one individual's lives. What we tend to do is share the good news. So as you're looking around, you can start to assess what are your sources of power, what are your sources of oppression. How does being in the middle, not having everything that you want, but having some of what you want, make you feel disempowered, and how is it that you don't feel the power associated with that middle position? Hope that helps.